In 1997, the tech industry promised us the world. They said that by putting a supercomputer in every pocket, humanity would achieve collective enlightenment. Instead, it triggered the largest psychological experiment in human history. And in 2026, the results are finally in. We didn't get enlightenment, we got brain rot. The average human now opens their phone 154 times a day. If you calculate the physical transit time of your attention, shifting from reality to the screen, we spend nearly a third of our waking lives in a state of cognitive suspension. Most people believe their sudden inability to read a book, sit through a movie, or hold a deep conversation is a personal flaw, a simple lack of discipline. But that is actually what the engineers want you to think. The truth is much more mechanical. You are not lazy, you are simply losing a lopsided war against an algorithm designed to treat your mind like a casino slot machine. To understand how the trap actually works, we have to look at the anatomy of a swipe. In behavioral psychology, there is a concept known as a variable reward schedule. It is the exact mathematical formula that keeps gamblers hooked on slot machines for 12 hours straight. If every single time you swiped down, you saw a spectacular, life-changing piece of content, your brain would eventually adapt. It would predict the reward, become saturated, and you would close the app. The tech giants know this. So the algorithm intentionally mixes the data. It gives you 2 boring videos, 1 mediocre post, a political argument that makes you angry, and then, finally, a video that makes you laugh. That unpredictability triggers an immediate massive spike of dopamine in your brain's reward center. It is not the content itself that keeps you scrolling, it is the addictive biological anticipation of what might come next. By hacking this evolutionary pathway, the internet has successfully commercialized human boredom. Boredom used to be the default state where the brain processed residual emotions, consolidated memories, and generated original creative thought. Today, any micro moment of silence, waiting for an elevator, standing in line, sitting at a red light, is immediately anesthetized by a 5-second video. We have effectively traded our inner dialogue for a continuous stream of synthetic noise. As the human attention span contracted, content had to mutate to survive. This brought about the era of sludge content. In the mid-2020s, creators realized that the viewer's brain had become so chronically understimulated that a single narrative line was no longer enough to retain their focus. The solution was to feed the brain multiple sensory inputs at the exact same time. While you listen to an interview, your lower visual field is occupied by a sensory loop of someone playing a game or cutting kinetic sand. This state is called continuous partial attention. You are never fully processing the information, nor are you fully enjoying the simulation. You are skimming through reality. Recent neuroimaging studies out of major universities have shown that this constant, high-intensity stimulation causes a noticeable drop in the metabolic activity of the prefrontal cortex, the exact region of the human brain responsible for impulse control, critical thinking, and long-term planning. We are quite literally training our brains to mimic the symptoms of several attention deficit disorders. But the true cost of this epidemic isn't just a dropped GPA or a lack of productivity. The true cost is emotional fragility. Because we now use the scroll wheel as an emotional pacifier, we have forgotten how to process basic human discomfort. The moment an individual feels a wave of social anxiety, loneliness, or existential dread, they reach for the pocket. By instantly escaping every negative emotion through a digital proxy, the mind never builds psychological resilience. We are witnessing a generation that is hyper-connected globally, yet statistically the most isolated, anxious, and chronically exhausted in modern history. We are running away from our own thoughts, and the supercomputers we hold in our hands are more than happy to facilitate the escape. The damage, however, is not permanent. Neuroplasticity means the brain can be rewired, but it requires a systematic strategy. In an era where digital abstinence is impossible due to demands of a modern employment and education, we must build a framework of resistance. The first step is a tactical intervention known as the grayscale protocol. Tech companies employ entire design departments to find the exact hue of red for notification badges that triggers your survival instincts. By removing all color from your device display settings, you strip the user interface of its psychological weapon. A monochrome screen immediately signals to your brain that the app is inert, reducing mindless pickups by nearly half. The second step is engineering environmental friction. Human willpower is a biological resource that depletes throughout the day. It cannot compete with an AI engine running on a server farm. Therefore, you must alter your physical architecture. If your phone sits within arm's reach while you attempt deep work, the cognitive load required to not touch it decreases your processing power. Move the device to an entirely different room. Force your laziness to become your defense mechanism. Finally, we must practice attention restructuring. Your focus is a muscle that has suffered from severe atrophy. You cannot fix it overnight. Set an analog timer for precisely 20 minutes. For those 20 minutes, engage with a single medium, a book, a document, an album, or a physical task. No second screens, no audio streams in the background, no tabs open on your desktop. When the impulse to check your screen hits, and trust me, it will, observe the physical reaction, let it pass and return to the page. If you are watching this sentence right now, you have sustained your focus on a single narrative arc for nearly 15 minutes without a split-screen mobile game playing beneath my voice. In the modern attention economy, that is a statistically significant anomaly. It proves that your mind is not broken. It is simply under siege. If you have survived the rut and made it to the end of this investigation, signal your baseline attention spawn by leaving the word focus in the comments below. Let us see how many are actually left. Turn off the screen, step outside, look at something that doesn't have pixels, and go reclaim your mind. See ya in the next one. Goodbye.